The Midwich Cuckoos by John Wyndham. Dramatised for radio in 3 parts by William Ingram. With Charles Kay as Bernard Westcott, William Gaunt as Richard Gayford, and Manning Wilson as Gordon Zellaby. The Midwich Cuckoos, Part 2.
Dear Richard, I am extremely sorry, that circumstances preclude well-deserved official congratulations to Midwich on the success of the operation to date. It has been conducted with a degree of discretion and communal loyalty which, frankly, has astonished everybody in the department. Most of us were of the opinion official action on our part would prove necessary long before this. Now that all the babies have been safely delivered, I think we are justified in concluding the initial, and one hopes, final crisis is past. Sign it sincerely.
Sir?
Oh, Miss Greer, no distribution, file copy only. And sent it per usual road dispatch.
Sir.
Morning, Vicar.
Ah, Zellaby.
Still signing up the recruits, I see?
Yes, easing off now. Only 2 or 3 more to come.
100%, eh?
Just about. Well, I suppose it gives them the slight feeling of being able to...
To regularise matters.
Quite. Yes, young Mary Histon. She chose the name Theodore. All on her own, I gather. How that a child like Mary should want to call her baby the gift of God instead of being ashamed of it? Why, it's a tribute to the whole village.
Then the whole village showed how, in the name of humanity, it ought to behave.
Teamwork. With a fine captain in your wife, Zellaby.
No arguments there, Vicar. And with my boy having the Zellaby nose, after all...
And no golden eyes, eh?
Well, it's a blessing to be grateful for. I have to confess things seem a bit flat after the battle.
Battles are only the highlights of campaigns. Who's to say there aren't more to come? Who are these children, Zellaby? There's something about the way they look at one, those curious eyes. They are strangers, you know. I can't help it, but I keep returning to the notion it must all have happened as some kind of test.
But by whom? Of whom?
Well, how can one tell? With strangers. Oh, surely that's your daughter, Zellaby.
You back so soon, then? I thought your mother said something about not being in for lunch. Darling? You all right? You don't look at all...
I will be, but if you just give me a minute.
What on earth's happened?
Well, the fact is, Daddy, I didn't intend to be here at all. Not at all.
You mean you changed your mind?
No. Unless I'm very much mistaken, I had it changed for me.
Tell me, then.
Alan rang at the last minute to say he couldn't get away from the camp. The place was generally getting me down, so I decided to treat the baby and myself to a change of scene. Nowhere in particular, just a drive. Well, we just got clear of the village, about 4 miles along the train road, when the car simply pulled into the side.
Broke down?
Pulled into the side.
Well, I don't understand.
I didn't expect you to, but the fact remains. Anyway, I got through to the garage and they sent someone out to check. They could find nothing. Nothing at all. It simply refused to budge. The mechanic went back for a tow truck and I decided there was nothing for it but to come back by bus.
And?
Then it happened. The very instant I positively decided to come back, the engine started up again. Coincidence? I wasn't even behind the wheel. It was him, Daddy. baby. He didn't want to leave the village. The baby made me come back again. Daddy?
You've got to get her away from here, Alan. It's essential. In view of the car incident, I can only stress the sooner the better.
I thought I'd made it pretty clear there was nothing I wanted more than to have Ferrelyn with me.
Yes, but we're past that stage. If we weren't, I wouldn't be interfering. It's no longer just a question of what either of you wants or would like. It's what needs to be done. And for Ferrelyn's sake, even more than yours.
She wants to join me. She set out to come once.
But she tried to take the baby with her. It brought her back then. Just as it always will if she should ever decide to try again.
She's become very attached to
You must persuade her to leave without the baby, Alan. It's the only solution. If the baby's not with her, it can exert no influence stronger than natural affection.
But according to Dr. Willers, all this is merely...
Willers is making loud, blustering noises to prevent himself from being frightened.
You mean this hysteria he talks about isn't the real reason for Ferrelyn and the rest coming back here?
The hysteria he chunters on about has never been known to manifest itself without one of the babies being present.
But I don't see how that... I mean, how the hell's it done, sir?
I've no idea. None.
So it really boils down to her choosing either the baby or me?
It's not your baby, Alan. And it really isn't Ferrelyn's baby either, or I'd not be talking to you like this. Ferrelyn, like the rest, are victims of an imposition. They've been cheated into an utterly false position.
With the greatest respect,
all
sir,
these 61 golden-eyed children we have here are intruders. They're changelings. They're cuckoo children. The important thing is not how the egg got into the nest, but what comes after it's been hatched. One thing you can count on is its instinct for survival. An instinct characterized by utter ruthlessness.
You really think you've got a sound analogy there?
I'm perfectly certain of it. The cuckoo survives because it's tough and single-purposed. That's why you must take Ferrelyn away and keep her away.
I've already said so.
She'll fight you. She's already more than halfway to accepting the child as her own. You must simply refuse to be blackmailed through her better instincts.
If Angela's child had turned out to be...
Cuckoo child, yeah.
One of them, what would you have done?
I should have done what I'm advising you to do.
Oh, I thought I heard voices. Study talk, Alan. I hope the old tyrant hasn't been laying down the law to you.
Hello, Angela.
Alan, darling. Oh, I'm exhausted. Just give me a minute and I'll make us some tea.
Trouble?
I'm not sure. I've just had Margaret Haxby on the telephone.
Margaret?
No, I'm not sure you'll remember her. She's now Dr. Margaret Haxby.
Oh, yes.
She's apparently quite brilliant. Until recently, she worked on that hush-hush government research business over at the Grange.
Until recently?
She's gone. Cleared out. She was speaking from London.
One of the afflicted.
And one of the most resentful. Now she's made up her mind to beat it, and she's gone, leaving Midwich holding the baby.
Where's the baby now, then?
Where she was staying, old Mrs. Dorry's cottage. The poor old girl doesn't know yet. I'm the one elected to go round and tell her.
Yes, but it won't just end there, will it? Can't you imagine the panic it's going to start among all the other women who've taken these girls in? They'll have them out overnight before they get left holding the baby, too.
Then what would you suggest?
Couldn't you stall? I mean, the girl might change her mind.
No, not this girl, Alan. It's not a spur-of-the-moment decision. From what she told me over the phone, she's been through it all pretty carefully.
And?
She never asked to come to Midwich. She was posted here. They'd posted her to a yellow fever area. They'd be responsible for the consequences, wouldn't they? Well, they posted her here, and through no fault of her own, she's caught this instead.
So it's up to officialdom to deal with it.
Her contention, anyway. As for the child, she repudiates it entirely. She's no more responsible than if it had been left on her doorstep. And certainly there's no reason why she should be expected to put up with the wrecking of her life or her work on account of it.
She's certainly thought it through, hasn't she?
Which makes our own predicament all the more urgent.
Our?
I've just been talking to Alan about getting Ferrelyn away. Once word gets round, there are going to be quite a few girls taking the,
Margaret Haxby?
Yeah, they're taking the Haxby girls' example, don't you think?
Well, it could well make up their minds for some of them.
In which case, don't you think it equally likely there'd be some kind of counter-move to stop the desertions?
Counter-move?
Oh, well, I doubt it would ever come to that. When it comes to publicity, you know how reluctant the authorities have been to...
No, not by the authorities.
Why? What do you mean?
What would happen if the children are as opposed to being deserted as they are to being removed?
The children? You're surely not suggesting
I don't know. Eccentric as it may seem, I am simply doing my best to place myself in the position of a young cuckoo, my dear. As such, I fancy I should resent anything that appeared likely to lessen attention to my comfort and well-being. One doesn't even have to be a cuckoo.
Extension 241. Yes, I do have official clearance, and it damn well is urgent. I'm very much obliged. Bernard Richard, we've got a panic on. Or something's cropped up. New developments. No, I can't talk about it over the phone, and no, it's nothing I can damn well write about either. Look, I know there's a certain official reluctance that you'd rather stick to the formula of let the village work it out for itself, but, well, we're just getting in a teeny bit over our heads. When's the earliest you can get down here? Earliest? Right, I'll get on to Zellaby and some of the others. Ugh, bureaucratic Burke.
The survival rate of my deliveries, 100%, resulting in 31 males and 30 females of this special type, means that only superficial study has been possible. Some of the characteristics observed, though, were common to them all. Most striking are the eyes. Although they appear to be quite normal in structure, the iris, to the best of my knowledge, is unique. The colouring being of a bright, almost fluorescent-looking gold. It's common to them all. The hair, noticeably soft and fine, is of a slightly darkened blonde shade. The finger and toenails are a trifle narrower than usual, but there's no suggestion of a claw. In general, the babies all appear to be perfectly healthy, although they don't show the degree of chubbiness we might expect at their age. The size of the head in relation to the body is that normally found in a somewhat older child. A curious but slight silvery sheen on the skin has given concern to some mothers, but this is common to all, and it would appear to be normal to...
the cuckoo children.
To the type. In conclusion, I'd just like to mention that Mr. Zellaby was from the outset of the opinion that the children's origin might be attributable to some form of xenogenesis.
Doctor?
The production of a form that could be unlike that of the parent, or more accurately, post-parent.
Among humans, there's never been a case known.
On the other hand, there's never been a known reason why it shouldn't prove possible.
No known reason.
But why the diffidence? Do you think the explanation hasn't naturally occurred to all those involved?
Angela,
The more educated women, my own daughter among them, entirely accept the thesis that they're host mothers rather than true mothers.
The less educated find it an element of humiliation and tend to ignore it.
Yes, and in any event, isn't it high time we got ourselves up to date? Stop speculating about the cause and get down to the altogether more imperative matter of effect.
Yes.
It's why we've met here, isn't it?
Yes.
At least I pray to God it's why we've met.
Yes.
What about the return of all the mothers and babies? All this compulsion business. You can't just ignore it and pretend it'll go away, Doctor.
A form of hysteria, giving rise to collective hallucinations. It will go away.
The hysteria syndrome again, Doctor? How can it be when all the mothers, educated or not, agree the babies can and do exert some form of compulsion?
Yes, that's the important
Now, those who were away didn't want to come back here. They came because they had to. I've talked to all of them. What they all say is that they suddenly became aware of a feeling of distress, a sense of need, which they knew could only be relieved by coming back here.
Classic. Look at the facts, and what do we have? A number of women are the victims of an improbable and as yet unexplained phenomenon. And a number of babies not quite like other babies.
That is greatly simplification.
The facts must be either admitted or somehow sublimated. And the easiest way to do this is to sublimate the situation, to transfer the irregularity into an environment where it no longer appears
Yes,
irregular.
that's
In
more
this
along the
case,
lines.
uniquely so, Midwich exactly fills the bill. So they pick up their babies and back they come and everything's comfortably rationalised, at least for the time being.
It isn't good enough, Doctor. It's time the situation was accepted, recognised. Not glibly or even learnedly explained away.
Oh, we've already got the weaker will getting ridiculously superstitious about it. They're crediting their babies with mystical, magical powers.
Yes, the whole situation invites
Now, what we need is
exploitation.
an absolutely unbiased investigation.
Quite beyond the compass of our local women's institution.
Unworthy, Doctor.
However well-intentioned.
Well, that's what I've been saying.
Then what would you suggest?
Somebody should be making a thorough study of these children. There ought to be a team of experts on the job. Like the rest of us, I kept quiet before the births because I thought it was best for everyone.
Well, we all did.
And the mothers in particular.
Well, you were right about that.
That need is past. It's nothing less than a national scandal that such a phenomenon as this should be hushed up to the extent of going practically unobserved. Given these children, think of the opportunity for a study of comparative development we have here. Environment, conditioning, association, diet, and all the rest of it.
We agree about it.
What we have here is a burning of books before they've even been written. Something must be done about it.
Well, gentlemen, all very rousing, to be sure. Old Willers can certainly hoist his colours to the masthead when he's a mind to.
As you say, Selby.
But still our mysterious guest from the Ministry remains unconvinced.
Not about the situation, only about the best course of action.
Singularly missing to date.
We thought a low profile might be the best for all concerned.
Yes. The proverbial low profile. Predictable, frequently commendable, sometimes inevitable. But when the question of advisability is past, when the essential need for a more concrete kind of action takes its place...
There's something new, something you're not letting on to the others.
Is there?
Oh, come off it, Selby. It's not difficult to see you're already one step ahead.
But not always a reason for self-congratulation.
Well, then, you have no choice.
The fact is, while the good doctor has been peering down his microscope, getting to grips with the laboratory side of things, I've been rather more active in the field.
I don't understand.
Richard, could you bring your friend here along to the cottage hospital, say about 10 tomorrow morning?
I had planned on an early
Or
start.
delay it. You'll find it your best interest. Or should that be our best interests? It's a lovely evening, isn't it? Well, there we have it then, gentlemen. Janet, my dear, 4 of the children. 2 boys, 2 girls.
And the same number of irate parents in the waiting room, wondering what the hell's going
Now,
on.
patience, Willers, patience. Now then, you're all perfectly satisfied that the children, in separate cribs, carefully screened off, can have no possible means of contact with each other.
He'll be giving us the old abracadabra next.
Quite satisfied.
Right then. Let the experiment begin.
The sooner the better. I've got surgery at 11.
This, then, is our apparatus. 1 small box containing 1 piece of barley sugar. It's not just any old box, though, you understand? A product of feckless Nipponese ingenuity. It has no visible means of opening, but slide aside this piece of marquetry here, and there's your barley sugar.
Miraculous.
Patience with us. Right. Box closed. Now, which of the infants shall we give first try?
But none of these babies is quite 1 year old yet.
It makes no difference. Please, name a child.
How about the Brant boy?
The Brant boy. The Brant boy it shall be.
All right.
Here we go. Janet, you give it to him.
Right.
So, he just thinks it's some kind of rattle.
He does, doesn't he? Now, we take the contraption across over here to the Dory boy in the next cubicle. And as before, we give him the box. He shakes it. He realizes that there's something inside, but he can see no way of getting to it. So this time, we show him how. And we give him the sweet, one satisfied customer.
Right, somebody's got something out of it.
What happens now, sir?
We reload the box and go back to Exhibit 1. we are. The Brent child. Janet, do your stuff.
Oh, well, yes. He's taken the box. Now
that is extraordinary.
Not the slightest hesitation, was there?
Amazing.
Straight for the concealed opening, and pleased as a sandboy with what he finds inside. It's fascinating, don't you think? You're still sceptical, Dr. Doubt?
Well...
Reload again, Janet, my dear. Now we'll try it on the girls. Oh dear. Poor old Willers, eh? Did you see his face? I wondered for a minute if he'd ever make his surgery. I thought Matron might have to tuck him up in a side ward and treat him for extreme shock.
He had my deepest sympathy.
The box idea is pretty effective, even if I say so myself. Simple, incontestable, and off without a hitch.
Here we go. I brought you black coffee, darling. Looked as though you could do with it.
Nothing surer.
May we take it that you've been trying other ideas on them?
Yes, quite a number. Some too complicated, others far from conclusive. Besides, I hadn't quite got hold of the right end of the stick to begin with.
Are you quite sure you have now, Zellaby? Because I'm not at all sure that I have.
Oh, I think you have. Yes, I'm sure you have.
I suppose you're wanting me to say your experiment shows that what one of the boys knows, all the boys know, though the girls do not.
And vice versa.
Yes, all right then. Well, that is what it appears to show, but, well, for God's sake, there has to be a catch somewhere.
My dear fellow.
Mr. Zellaby, are you positively claiming that if I were to tell anything to one of the boys, all the rest would know it?
Providing it was simple enough for them to understand it at this stage.
But it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable? But then you lynch Darwin and you show the impossibility of evolution. You could always devise your own tests.
Well, I should have said that the one we've just seen has enough implications to capsize our entire social system.
I'm still not convinced. I mean, couldn't it all be put down to some kind of sympathetic understanding, a kind of thing sometimes found between twins?
Not unless it's developed far enough to have revolutionary new features. Besides, what we have here is not one single group en rapport, but two apparently without cross-connections. In other words, if I ask a question to any of these boys, I shall get exactly the same answer, and from whichever I choose to ask. If I ask them to perform an action, I shall get more or less the same result. But the decisive point is this. It will not be the individual child who answers me or performs for me. It will be an item of the group.
Go on.
Right, what we have, what we seem to have, is 61 individual entities. I maintain we've been fooled, that appearances have been deceptive. What we actually have are two entities only. A boy, a girl.
Yeah.
No. Though the boy has 31 component parts each, the physical structure and appearance of individual boys, and the girl has 30 component parts.
I find that rather hard to take,
My
Zellaby.
dear, so did I.
You're putting forward this as a serious proposition, Zellaby. It's not just a dramatic manner of speaking.
No, I'm stating a fact. Having shown you the evidence first.
No, all you've shown us is that they're able to communicate in some way I don't understand. But to go from that to some wild theory about non-individualism is too much at one jump.
Because you've only seen one test. I've conducted many. None of them contradict the theory, though I prefer to call it collective individualism. Moreover, it's nowhere near as wild as it appears at first sight. It's quite a well-established evolutionary dodge for getting round shortcomings. A number of forms that appear at first sight to be individuals turn out to be colonies. We ourselves combine in groups consciously instead of by instinct for the same purposes. But why shouldn't nature produce a more efficient version? Unless the human race is to stagnate, we must find some way of getting round them.
I feel a bit like a chameleon, placed on a colour it can't quite manage.
You know, I've wondered about these two groups quite a lot. I've even felt there ought to be names for these two super spirits. You'd certainly imagine there were plenty to choose from, and yet I find just two out of them all persistently invade my mind. Adam and Eve.
Thanks for the lift.
No trouble. You should have stayed for lunch.
I'd love to have, but they'll be all hell let loose the other end of the day. Still,
Yes?
I wouldn't have missed the Zellaby magic show for the world.
Oh, come on, that's not good enough.
No.
What can it all mean?
Something. Nothing.
Which is where we came in.
I'll gee up the official interest, of course, but I'm still depending on you to keep your finger on the pulse, keep me informed.
Except I'm not sure how much longer I'll be around to do that.
Oh?
Well, apart from already being way out of my depth, Janet and I may be moving on.
What, leaving Midwich?
Yes, this new agent of mine seems to be earning his 10%. Something he set up for me in Canada. The terms are all right, and Jan's keen. It's new horizons. It sounds very promising.
You're likely to take it, then?
After what I've just seen...
Yes?
It gets more likely by the minute.
Gordon? Darling? Are you asleep?
No, just hiding behind my eyes. And thinking about this morning.
At the hospital?
Their expressions of ingrained scepticism. Still, I expected no different.
But there must be an explanation.
Of course.
And what do you think it is?
It's too early. We'll have to wait until the children are old enough to give us some evidence.
But you do have some ideas?
As you are a discreet woman, let me put one question to you. It's this. If you were wishful to challenge the supremacy of a society that was fairly stable and quite well weaponed, what would you do? Would you meet it on its own terms, by launching a costly and certainly destructive assault, or if time were of no importance, would you employ an altogether more subtle tactic? A fifth column.
A fifth column?
To attack it from within.